Lord Malik, the normies of Terrace have been one-shot. They're staggered and refusing to push the objective.
Poggers, Admiral. Send these bronzies to hell where they belong.
Of course, my Lord Malik. This team wipe is inescapable.
Yes, good. Now be gone. It's time for me to climb.
Yes, Pookie.
Finally! No more stupid Bastila with her stupid Hela account. Celestial rank here, Oh, what the fuck?!
Bruh.
What's up, nerds, and welcome back to my average introvert simulator. In the first part of this challenge, our main character, Abner, survived a military disaster, crash-landed in Detroit, rose to power through crime, and escaped an Omnicide. In addition, Abner tangled with the Sith Empire, causing them to launch a galactic hunt for our hero. Whether he likes it or not, John Scoundreling is now involved in the war of light versus dark sides. However, every good scoundrel knows that war is profitable, so no matter what side he's on or who's out to get him, Abner will find a way to come out on top. Now, without further ado, let's return to our challenge. After escaping Terrace, the gang considers taking the Ebon Hawk to Dantooine so they can lay low. Dantooine has a Jedi enclave that Bastila is familiar with, so it should be safe. However, Karth brings up a very logical concern. What's to stop the Sith coming to glass Dantooine? Bastila says that the Sith would never attack a planet with powerful Jedi. Abner counters this notion by suggesting that powerful Jedi can't deflect turbo laser cannons and nuclear warheads back into orbit. But Bastila dismisses this. Upon trying to argue the point, Bastila does as she does best, and hassles both Karth and Abner until they're forced to do what she wants. Now on Dantooine, whether everyone likes it or not, Bastila has a quick chat with her bosses, and relays a message to Abner, saying that a bunch of older men want to study him. Abner says that he doesn't swing that way, but Bastila doesn't seem to care. Begrudgingly, Abner follows Bastila into the temple. Preparing for the worst, Abner presents himself in front of the old men. Turns out they're nobody that important, just middle management in the Jedi Order who control this one little enclave in the middle of nowhere. Since Abner used to be pretty famous, he demands to talk to someone in charge, like someone from the real Jedi Council on Coruscant. But the old men dismiss this idea. They are the law out here, and they don't need no city folk telling them what to do. Surely this has led to no dangerous galactic decisions in particular. Anyway, what's really important is that the old men detect strong force sensitivity in Abner. Normally this wouldn't matter since the Jedi only indoctrinate children, but seeing as the Jedi are ridiculously desperate at the moment, they're willing to train anyone with a lick of force sensitivity inside of them. Abner didn't start a life of crime to go back to public school, so he prepares to object, but before he can get a word in, the old men declare that it is their nap time and dismiss Bastila and Abner back to their ship. Not one to turn down a free escape from public speaking, Abner comps a snooze, causing him to have another weird dream.
Oh boy, I love Marvel Rivals. Quick play is so much fun.
Wait, we're going into ranked queue? The Jedi Order said not to do that. Our masters said that ranked is the path to the dark side. If we queue up, we'll never have fun again. Do we really need to grind? Is the ELO machine really that worth it? Yet again, our hero has dreamt about people he's never met before, and just like last time, Karth is here to creepily watch him and tell him to go do things. Deja vu at its finest. Abner is forced to go visit the old men again, and unluckily for our hero, they have prepared some awful news for him. Firstly, Abner has somehow been linked to Bastila via the Force. Secondly, the bad dreams he's been having are actually shared visions with Bastila. And lastly, these visions are all clues from the Force about Revan and Malik's rise to power. Abner didn't hear the last two bits of information and proceeded to dry gag at the thought of being connected to Bastila forever. The old men basically say our hero has no choice now but to fight for the light side, or else the entire galaxy will explode. Abner doesn't enjoy being peer pressured by old men, but now that he thinks about it, the Sith did glass Terrace, the only place where our hero was super famous and well liked. So maybe with some supernatural powers, Abner could teach the bad guys a lesson or two. Abner agrees to be trained in the Force and begins his education via training montage. In weeks, Abner learns what most cannot learn in years. It seems no matter what universe you're in, a class resembling the D&D rogue will always have reliable talent. To complete his Jedi crash course, Abner has to do a few bits of kindergarten schoolwork. He fills in a few blanks about the Jedi code, says his favorite color is green, and then puts together a lightsaber like he's making a Lego set. This awards him his very first Jedi level. Now let's break some things down, y'all. The Jedi class we have chosen is the Consular, because they get the feat Force Focus, which makes a Jedi's Force powers more likely to succeed against enemies. These benefits are self-explanatory. Additionally, we master our dual-wielding abilities and take our very first Force power. The Force power we choose is Force Fear, which we then upgrade into Force Horror. This power freezes targets within a 5-meter area of effect for 12 seconds, but more importantly, this Force power can be used while wearing armor, allowing us to forego using the defensively weaker Jedi robes. We will eventually use Jedi robes in order to use other Force powers, but right now we need the defense from normal armor. Now, there's just one small thing I should mention. Seeing as Abner learned how to be a Jedi so quickly, he was bound to miss a thing or two. I don't know, something such as, how to use a lightsaber. That's right, not only is this challenge going to be done without any companions, we won't be using lightsabers either. Why would I do this to myself, you ask? Because my main character is built different. Anyway, now that we've wasted weeks of training, it's time to go do chores for the Jedi Order so Abner can join the cool Jedi Club. The first order of business is figuring out why wild animals are attacking innocent people all across Dantooine. While he's at it, Abner also agrees to kill Mandalorian raiders for bounty money. Even while doing Jedi chores, our scoundrelly lad will still find a way to make some cash on the side. As Abner makes his way towards the sprawling plains of Dantooine, he's accosted by some rabid dog things. This is a perfect opportunity for our magical burglar to demonstrate his new powers. By casting Force Horror, Abner is able to stun his enemies for 12 seconds, and since our hero is still mostly a scoundrel, he is able to proc sneak attacks on those stunned enemies. Each sneak attack does 4 to 24 damage, and to maximize his sneak damage procs, Abner uses his flurry attack combined with him dual-wielding weapons to get a total of 3 attacks per turn. Doing the math now, 3 attacks times 4 to 24 sneak attack damage will equal 12 to 72 sneak attack damage per turn, which is then added on top of Abner's normal pistol damage. In total, our hero now does a fuck ton more damage than before. The power of the Force has made our hero very strong indeed. The stun and gun strategy will be Abner's bread and butter for the rest of the challenge. Now, onto some interesting things that Abner found while reducing Dantooine's biodiversity. A crime scene. Apparently some guy was murdered and a Jedi named Baluk was sent to investigate, like the Fed he is. Abner didn't want to get roped into any kind of Fed business, but he changed his mind after hearing that the murder victim was a fellow scoundrel. Not only had the murder victim stolen money from his business partners through shady dealings, he had also been sleeping with another man's wife. If that isn't some by-the-book skullduggery, Abner didn't know what was. So out of respect for a peer, Abner puts this case to rest. F's in the chat for a real piece of garbage. Apart from that, Abner hunts down a few Mandalorian raider groups. They're far more difficult to kill than some random animals, but the bounty on their heads makes the battles worthwhile. Abner also finds a secret cave full of lightsaber crystals being guarded by weird spider things. Abner deals with the spider things and then collects all of the super rare, invaluable Jedi lightsaber crystals for himself. Naturally, he plans to pawn them off to some random merchant the first chance he gets. Abner's crimes against the local ecosystem award him a level up, and he is granted the stun droid force power so that he can use the stun and gun strategy on robots. After that level up, Abner hunts down the last few packs of problematic animals. One of these packs is led by an alpha dog thing. The alpha is much tougher than any of the other animals, mostly because it resists force insanity, but it's nothing a nice stock of med packs will not fix. Soon after taking out the alpha, Abner is attacked by a cat girl Jedi.
I will be your doom!
She wasn't all that strong. This character's name is Juhani, and she's an optional companion in this game. She had a pretty bad day at Jedi school recently, and this of course made her evil. And because Juhani decided to brood evilly in the wilderness, this somehow made all of the local animals evil too. Abner doesn't want to have to deal with evil animals for the rest of his life, so he does his best to convince the angry cat girl to be less angry.
The council has sent you here to kill me. Why then, When you bested me so easily, did you not simply finish your task? You do not. I am pathetic. I thank you for your kind words, Jed, but I wish the cost of my ignorance had not been so high. I only wish things could have been. How can the council ever take me back with what I should convince them that I am truly repentant? Do you think they would? I thank you, Master Jedi.
Our hero's staggering charisma moves Juhani with ease, marking the end of that chore. All things considered, that main quest mission wasn't really too hard. Ironically, it's a side quest that ends up being the most interesting challenge on Dantooine. Meet Sharuk, the leader of the Mandalorian Raiders. He has 2 working feet, specializes in melee attacks, and he's immune to being stunned in any way. Basically, he's Avner's worst nightmare right now. It takes me a good 5 or 6 tries to take this guy down, but what eventually works is a combination of grenades, landmines, tactical retreating, and all of my remaining health items. It's well worth it though, as Avner finally claimed the $1,000 bounty for wiping out the Mandalorian Raiders. Returning to the Enclave, our hero reconnects with Juhani, who is feeling much less evil now. Even though she's solely responsible for messing up the behavior of the local ecosystem and inspiring wild animals to attack loads of normal people, the old men are going to forgive her as long as she says she's really sorry. Speaking of the infallible old men, they congratulate Avner on a job well done, bringing Juhani back to the light side. As a reward, the old men promote our hero to the rank of Padawan, and then give him more work to do. This is why Avner is a criminal. All honest work just leads to more honest work. This time, the old men tell Avner to go investigate the creepy temple that he and Bastila dreamt about. The game strongly recommends us to take Bastila with us, but we kick her out the first chance we get. Avner approaches the creepy dream temple on his own, but as soon as our hero passes through the big stone doors, Bastila is forced into our party yet again. This isn't a problem at all because we can turn on solo mode and ignore Bastila forever. Inside the dream temple, Avner finds an ancient droid speaking a bunch of old languages. Thankfully, our hero is multilingual, so he is able to interrogate the droid about the temple and ask if there's anything he can sell in here. Turns out the droid and the temple are 20,000 years old. The temple belonged to a super ancient empire of people known as the Builders, and the reason this temple exists at all is to protect information about something called the ELO machine. Avner swears that last bit of information doesn't sound right, but the script of this video insists that it is, so he has to roll with it. Avner has no idea what an ELO machine is, but if it's 20,000 years old, then it must be valuable. In order to get more information about it, Avner has to complete the temple's trials. This isn't too much of a bother since the temple's trials are essentially 2 kindergarten vocabulary checks. Completing the trials opens up the temple's final door and reveals something called a star map. Before Avner can try and determine its market value, Bastila stops him and tells Avner that this map is supposed to lead to the ELO machine. Unfortunately though, the star map on Dantooine is only one piece of a puzzle. The other pieces seem to be securely located on the planets of Kashyyyk, Tatooine, Manan, and Korriban. Avner senses a series of high-profile heists in his future, which is something that makes his scoundrelly brain happy. With the star map in hand, Avner leaves the temple and once again dismisses Bastila. He then makes a pit stop to break into a random rich guy's house. Why does he do this? Because frankly, our favorite criminal mastermind needs a palate cleanser after doing so much Jedi nonsense. Avner receives a level up for this, allowing him to take the disabled droid force power, as well as upgrade his flurry attack. Returning to the Jedi Enclave now, Avner gives the old men info about the ELO machine from the star map, hoping to get a price estimate on the thing. Unsurprisingly, the old men have no useful information about the ELO machine and don't know how much it's worth, but they do say Darth Malak is most likely using the ELO machine for the Sith war effort. It's inevitable then that Avner is given the mission of finding the other star maps leading to the ELO machine and putting a stop to Malak's plans of galactic domination. The old men also tell Avner that he won't be supervised and that he can do whatever he wants from here on out, which is music to our hero's ears. In the blink of an eye, our scoundrel Jedi takes to his ship and sets a course for profit and glory the likes the galaxy has never seen.
Lord Malak, you haven't touched your chicken tendies and gamer subs.
I'm not in the mood, Admiral. The Sith have fallen. Billions more must die.
I know you're still unhappy about Bastila Shan surviving the deranking of Taris, but I brought a special guest to the ship to cheer you up.
Is it Frogger?
No. Frogger still hasn't answered your 3,000 LFG emails.
Fuck. Well, who is it?
This is Carlo Nord. He was on Taris, and he witnessed Bastila Shan teleport onto a ship between cutscenes. He can track down that ship for us, Lord Malak.
poggers. Work your cringe 9 to 5, Kahlo, and I'll share some of my big streamer money with you.
Lord Malik, there's just one more thing. It's about a man that Kahlo fought on Terrace.
Oh, does Bastila have a simp?
Precisely. And there's something you should know about him.
Back on the Ebon Hawk now, our hero is about to execute phase 1 of his grand plan to steal the ELO machine. Just before his plan can commence, however, Zalbar tells Abner that someone has been stealing food from the cargo bay and that he should check it out. A thief stealing from another thief on a stolen ship? It's more likely than you'd think. Abner looks around the ship for the amateur and ends up hearing footsteps behind him. He follows the sound of these footsteps until he catches the mystery thief in the cargo bay. Turns out the Ebon Hawk has a stowaway in the form of a young girl named Sasha. Abner prepares to give an overly detailed rundown of all the things Sasha should have done to make sure she didn't get caught stealing, but he soon finds out that while she can understand him, he cannot understand her. Apparently she speaks the Mandalorian language, but in a very, very broken dialect. Abner makes an uncharacteristically earnest effort to understand a fellow scoundrel in Sasha and is eventually able to communicate with her. Unfortunately, since Abner can't charge a child rent, he tells Sasha that he'll have to fly back to Dantooine and find her folks for her. Upon going back to Dantooine, the literal first person Abner sees is the person who will take Sasha back to her family. With a heartfelt goodbye in Sasha's own little language, Abner sees her off. That's strange, Abner says. Our hero feels a very unfamiliar warmth in his heart, a far cry from the typical empty void he's used to. Was this what being a good person felt like? Abner shakes off this alien sensation. Must be all of that Jedi gobbledygook getting to him. In order to run away from his rapidly shifting morality, Abner recommences his master plan. Step 1 is to go on a shopping spree. A scoundrel always knows where to get the best deals, and in our case, the best deals are on Yavin 4. Well, not really on Yavin 4, but on the space station above Yavin 4. Suvam Tan is a smuggler who sells some of the best items in the game. Not only does his stock refresh as the story of KOTOR progresses, for some reason Suvam Tan has the best sell rate in the game. If you want to sell items in KOTOR, most merchants will buy those items at 25% of their sale value. This rate can't be changed by any feats or using charisma. However, our boy Suvam Tan will buy items at 65% of their base value because he's the best. It's for this reason that I've been waiting since Terrace to sell off most of the items that I've collected. After offloading all of the gear that I won't be using, I make a gigantic profit of 23,000 credits. Using 8,500 of them, I buy some advanced stabilizer gloves from Tan that increase my dexterity by 3. Next, Abner flies to Korriban, one of the planets where a star map is located. He's not here to complete his mission just yet, but rather he's here to shop for some black market goods. Seeing as this is a planet mostly controlled by the Sith, he figures that as long as he can stay low, he can snag some diabolical merchandise that the Republic-controlled worlds would never sell. Though laying low turns out to be a bit difficult considering the violent whims of the population of Korriban. Immediately upon entering the palace, Abner is put on the spot by one of the local Sith. This Sith asks Abner how he should humiliate and / or kill a bunch of innocent brown nosers. Since Abner wasn't ready to interact with people just yet, he doesn't have any funny ideas, so he just tells the Sith to let the people go unharmed. Miraculously, this works. That's twice today that Abner has unintentionally done a good deed. Flustered and desperate to escape that dreaded warm feeling in his chest again, Abner looks around for more psychopaths to talk to. He's in luck, as a group of them try to goad Abner into a fight. They dare our hero to amuse them or face the consequences. Abner prepares a killer joke that's sure to make the Sith lash out, but strangely though, the joke was actually good, and the Sith kinda just let Abner go for doing what they asked. God damn it, Abner says. How's he supposed to keep up this facade of being a hardcore criminal if his character keeps developing? Thankfully though, Abner is able to find an illicit goods merchant to satisfy his scoundrelly urges. Our hero purchased Casus Fett's heavy pistol for 10,000 credits. This monster of a gun is the actual best blaster pistol in the game. It's roughly twice as good as any of our current blasters, and the fact that you can get this thing right after leaving Dantooine is just criminal. While we're here, Abner also purchases a better stealth generator for himself. Abner then takes a quick trip to Tatooine, as this is yet another world with good illegal goods. He purchases a pretty decent heavy blaster pistol and accepts a colony of little animals called Gizga onto a ship without asking any questions. The game tries to convince you that these little guys are pests, but they're actually super cute and love being petted. For these reasons, Avner will be keeping them on his ship for the rest of the game, and all of my benched companions will have to deal with it. Now it's on to step 2 of Avner's master plan, actually finding some star maps. He chooses Kashyyyk as the first planet to visit and punches a course. Upon landing there, Avner is greeted by a corpo, who tries to steal money from him. He politely protests this unjust theft and politely tells this guy to go away. Moving further into the settlement, Avner notices a few peculiar things. Everything in this settlement seems to belong to a specific intergalactic company called Zerka Corporation. Avner's heard that they're pretty rich, so that means there's things to steal, which is good. What is not good, however, is when Avner notices a mechanic being held in indentured servitude under a merchant. Apparently the mechanic owes some kind of a debt to the merchant, but still, Avner isn't a fan of his situation. Hopefully that kind of thing doesn't become a trend on this planet. Oh no. It becomes all too apparent that Zerka Corporation has violently colonized Kashyyyk. At this point, Avner has completely forgotten about what he was doing here before. All our hero wants to do now is start a proper revolution. Striking out into the wilds of Kashyyyk, Avner gets a glimpse at the local wildlife. It seems that the spider things from the cave in Dantooine have made a subspecies on Kashyyyk. That seems highly improbable, seeing as the two planets are quite far away from one another, but our hero doesn't think too hard about it. Moving further in, our hero runs into some Zerka scum standing over a dead Wookiee. Apparently the Corpos had murdered this Wookiee for being disloyal. Avner really dislikes this, so he politely informs the Zerka scum that if they don't get out of his face immediately, then Avner would shatter their primary motor cortices and blast them until they stopped twitching. This is sufficiently persuasive enough to make them leave. Continuing on through the jungle canopy, Avner continues to fight off critters without too much issue. Just as he was getting bored of fighting the same spiders and bats over and over, a trio of dark Jedi ambush Avner out of nowhere. They block our hero's path forward and declare that Darth Malak himself is offering a huge reward to whomever can destroy Avner and his crew. Avner feels a sense of pride upon hearing this, because any good scoundrel knows that he's hit the big leagues when there is an exorbitant bounty placed on his head. The dark Jedi sense that they're being ignored and decide to charge our hero head on. Avner tries to freeze them all in place with the Force insanity, but seeing as these guys are Force users, they're more likely to resist Avner's powers. That's okay though, it's nothing that the tried and true strategy of tactically retreating cannot fix. Avner runs far away enough until line of sight on him is broken and then enters stealth mode. He then gets the drop on one of the Dark Jedi for free and defeats him instantly. He then uses stealth to sneak up on the last two Dark Jedi and beats them in head-on combat. That ambush wasn't all too bad to deal with. In fact, our cocky hero hopes that the people Malak sends next time are a little bit more challenging. Moving on, our hero finds the gates to the local Wookiee village. It looks like they were expecting him for some reason. Avner allows himself to be taken inside and comes face to face with the chieftain of the Wookiees, Chundar. So there's a lot of history to explain here. Firstly, Chundar and Zalbar are brothers. Secondly, Zalbar was banished from his village for attacking Chundar. And thirdly, Chundar is an evil bastard who's selling his own people to Zerka Corp. The only reason Chundar is in power is because Zalbar has been banished, and their father, Freyr, has supposedly gone crazy. To prove just how much of a loser he is, Chundar says that he'll be keeping Zalbar hostage in the village until Avner completes a chore for him. Avner doesn't want to have anything to do with a furry fascist, but Chundar may or may not let slip that his chore involves finding Freyr in the jungle. Our hero realizes that this just may be the key to starting a revolution around here, and sets off to find the old Wookiee. All it takes is a little bit of a walk for Avner to reach the basket that lowers him down onto the jungle floor. Immediately upon reaching the floor, our hero is ambushed yet again, this time by a familiar face. The beardless dwarf, Calo Nord, the bounty hunter that Avner grenade bombed on Terrace, returns with a mission from Darth Malak to kill our hero. Now we're talking, Avner says to himself. Taking down the best bounty hunter in the galaxy ought to make Avner's bounty incalculable. The battle commences and our hero quickly takes cover so that he can activate his stealth generator. He tries to sneak in, but for some reason the Wookiee manning the basket catches him in dialogue. This almost costs our hero his life, but by being revealed he's able to burst down one of Calo Nord's Wookiee bodyguards. Avner quickly hides behind cover again and activates his stealth generator to hopefully get in unnoticed this time. He's able to get the drop on Calo, stunning both him and his bodyguard with Force Horror. Now in a 1v1, Avner and Calo trade blows. goes. Surprisingly, Callow is pretty smart and actually heals himself when he's hurt, which allows him to outlast Abner's attempts at stunning him. The fight devolves into a good old-fashioned duel of attrition. With Abner's upgraded flurry attack, he's able to put more damage in than Callow can, and eventually defeats him. Full disclosure, I was expecting this fight to be far more difficult. Typically, Callow Nord is supposed to be immune to force powers and sneak attacks, making him a real ball buster to deal with solo, but upon doing some research, it appears that Callow Nord only has those buffs when you fight him on Dantooine. For some reason, the Kashyyyk, Manon, and Korriban versions of the Callow Nord boss fight all differ from one another stat-wise, and notably do not give Callow Nord the buffs that I mentioned. I'm certainly not complaining, as this challenge is becoming hard enough already, but just know that if you play KOTOR yourself someday, fight Callow Nord on Tatooine. It's more fun that way. Defeating Callow Nord awards our hero a level up, which he uses to increase his Riz and learn the Force Push power. Pushing further into the jungle, our hero encounters a couple new creature types. There's some dog pig things that regenerate health over time, and funny monkeys that flip and make too much noise. Additionally, Abner finds an old man Jedi fighting off some of the dog pig things. His name is Jolie Bindo, and he is yet another potential companion for our crew. He invites our hero to come talk at his hut. Abner has had some recent experience talking to old men, so he has a feeling that he's about to be put to work. Unsurprisingly, that's exactly what happens. Jolie says that some Zerka Corp scum have come down to the jungle floor and started stirring stuff up, so he wants them kicked out. Rather hilariously, he also wants them gone because one of their guys messed up his garden. Just as Abner sets off to go find the Zerka scum that Jolie mentioned, he gets distracted by chasing some monkeys. This momentary distraction leads him to finding a crime scene. At the crime scene, there are 2 dead bodies and a broken droid. Our hero accesses the droid's memory bank and discovers that the merchant from the landing pad, who's been holding the mechanic under indentured servitude, killed the mechanic's friends in order to trap him on Kashyyyk. Abner drops everything he's doing at the moment and runs back to the surface of the jungle to resolve this. His revolution was starting now. He heads to the landing port and confronts the merchant about the murder of the mechanic's friends. The mechanic naturally doesn't take this well, and given the choice between letting the diabolically evil merchant run away or taking him out for good, Abner tells the mechanic to give the merchant his due comeuppance. This decision does give us some dark side points, but Abner is willing to live with that. The mechanic gets to take over the merchant's shop and inherits his assets so he can buy his way off of Kashyyyk. It also doesn't hurt that the mechanic gives our scoundreling lad some credits for his trouble. Nice. Now back on the forest floor, Abner finally finds those Zerka guards who Jolie wanted removed. Our hero discovers that the only way the Zerka people are allowed to operate down here is by using sonic emitters to scare away large predators. Naturally, this means the emitters need to be turned off. This is actually pretty easy to do, as all Abner has to do is convince 2 guards to turn off their own emitters. As the machines turn off, a gigantic monster immediately comes to investigate the camp and chases the company out. Abner returns to Jolie with the good news, and in return for his actions, Jolie joins our hero's party and guides Abner into the deeper parts of the jungle so we can find Freyr. While we do have a complication in the form of required companion now, the tried and true solo button will make our lives much easier. Upon entering the deeper parts of the jungle, Abner witnesses a group of Mandalorians assaulting a Wookiee. Our hero jumps into action, and so does Jolie. To make sure he doesn't fail my challenge, I pilot Jolie away from the battle while Abner takes care of business. Upon saving his life, the wounded Wookiee tells our hero that the Mandalorians have been employing stealth technology to ambush Wookiee hunters with no provocation. Abner knows a thing or two about stealth ambushes, and he can tell that the Mandalorians aren't worthy of his honorable scoundrel tactics. To teach these posers a lesson, Abner agrees to take out any Mandalorian patrols he comes across. Little did our hero know that he would come to regret this decision later. Advancing fearlessly into the heart of the jungle, Abner gains a substantial level up as it lets him choose 2 new force powers at once. He chooses to upgrade his Force Push to Force Whirlwind, which will become extremely important very soon, and upgrades his Force Horror to Force Insanity. Abner immediately gets to put his new powers to use as he runs into Zalbar and Chundar's father, Freyr. At first, Freyr thinks that our hero is just another Zerka Corpo and lashes out at him. With a little stunning and gunning though, Abner is able to whittle the poor geezer down until he sees reason. Abner explains that he's here to help Freyr's village and scrub this world clean of Zerka filth in the form of a revolution. Freyr thinks this is a baller idea, but he also thinks that nobody will follow him in a battle against Chundar. Freyr has been cast out of the village after all, and most Wookiees think that he's gone crazy. The only way to restore faith in Freyr's rule as a chieftain would be to retrieve a legendary sword from the hide of a great beast, as that blade has great spiritual significance to the tribe. Abner says say no more and sets off to hunt himself down a beastie. To summon the beast, Abner hangs the corpse of a spider thing to a vine. In no time at all, the beast comes out to fight, but there's a small issue. Jolie has stubbornly decided to teleport and offer his moral support. Abner stuns the ritual beast with Force Insanity and tells Jolie to go away so that he can do this fight on his own. Abner is able to slay the monster without much issue and retrieves the legendary sword. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It is then that our hero decides to go and try his luck against the Gorilla Mandalorians. They appear in 3 different spots on this level, and the first spot is what proves to be the most troublesome. The Mandalorians will appear near a set of Wookiee corpses, but only if your party's characters are unarmed. That's not so bad because it doesn't cost any resources to equip weapons in combat. What does suck is that even if you're in solo mode, Jolie teleports to your side in the cutscene where the Mandalorians reveal themselves to you. This makes it extremely easy for the Mandalorians to target Jolie and ruin my challenge. The most obvious solution is to use the Force Insanity power to just AoE freeze everyone before they can hit Jolie, but for some infuriating reason, one Mandalorian from the trio is immune to the effects of Force Insanity. That's okay, because I also took Force Whirlwind as a power for a reason. If the enemy is immune to the effects of being forcibly made insane, they will not be immune to being lifted up and twirled around. Strange logic, but that's KOTOR for you. This means that I have to lift up this Mandalorian immediately before he can target Jolie, and then use Force Insanity afterwards to clean up the fight while Jolie runs far, far away. Quite frankly, this encounter is up to luck. Not only does the first Mandalorian have to decide to target Abner for this strategy to work most of the time, every enemy has to fail their saves against Abner's force powers. There's quite a few times where I have to reset simply because the Mandalorians did not want to be stunned. And to add a crap cherry onto this pile of misery, in my attempts to quick save and quick load, I accidentally soft-locked myself. Every time I retried the encounter, I would be loaded into the cutscene right away, with no time to prepare. Attempt after attempt after attempt failed. I was seriously considering reloading an older save just to escape this fresh hell.
しかし、敗者はそう考える。
領域展開 Save Reload
Save, reload. Save, reload. Save, reload. Save, reload.
Well, that sucked. I did have to do the same thing 2 more times, but those attempts went way smoother compared to the first try. By defeating all the stealthy wannabes, Abner can present the Mandalorian leader's helmet to the wounded Wookiee. The Wookiee thanks me for a job well done and gives Abner an item that he'll never use. Nice. Abner decides to go on a little walk to decompress after the stress he had just endured, and on his walk he runs into the original reason why he went to Kashyyyk in the first place, a genuine star map. The map is guarded by a computer program, holographically displaying a strange alien species that Abner has never seen before. Interrogating the program reveals that it's been tampered with, and has gaps in its data of the past. The most obvious gaps are in recent history, with the machine unable to directly remember Revan and Malik's first visit. Makes sense that a Sith Lord would cover his tracks. Regardless, the computer program will give the map to our hero if he's able to answer some questions in a satisfactory fashion, whatever that means. Giving it a go, the program asks a rather strange question right off the bat. To paraphrase, it asks that if Abner was in trouble with the law, would/should he give up a close friend to the authorities if it meant that he himself would serve less or no jail time? Abner says he'd never do that to his homies because snitches get stitches. The computer program doesn't like that answer. It follows up with another question. Paraphrasing again, if Abner had the chance of total victory in a hypothetical war in 10 days at the cost of losing an entire city, or protecting that city in 5 days but prolonging the war, which side would he choose? Abner has to dig real deep into his staggering intellect for this one. He comes to the realization that this is a trolley problem. While it's morally wrong to condemn anyone to death when you have the power to save them, Abner realizes the computer program is probably looking for the mathematically and logically cold correct answer. answer. Abner says that he would end the war in 10 days and in the process save the rest of his cities and people that way. The computer program accepts this answer as correct, but doesn't like the logic that Abner uses. The program then rephrases the question. Let's just say the war is no longer about saving all of his people, but simply achieving total victory. Would he do the same thing? It's at this point that Abner realizes it. This machine is trying to make him think like a Sith. The last person to access this thing, after all, was Darth Revan. Revan himself had likely altered the alien program to keep people that weren't him or Darth Malak out, should anyone come looking for the star maps. So then this begs the question, what would Revan say? Abner lets out a defeated sigh and says that he'd let his city get attacked in order to win. This works, the program recognizes Abner as worthy and grants him the star map. Abner wonders if it was worth it though. Granted, he was answering questions just so that he could complete his mission, but that program had brought out the worst in him, made him say things that he would never act on. All our hero can hope now is that he never becomes someone like Darth Malak, and never becomes someone like Darth Revan. With the star map in hand, there's only one thing left to do on Kashyyyk. Abner returns to Freyr with the spiritual sword and presents it to him. Freyr declares that his people will be free and rushes to the treetops. Abner follows, but is ambushed on his way there. The Chundar loyalists put up a good fight, but they're no match for our hero's righteous fury. Upon reaching the treetops, Abner is taken to Chundar's throne room for the final confrontation. He convinces Zalbar to take up arms with his dad and overthrow Chundar once and for all. Jolie does get teleported into the throne room with us, but that's not a problem. Every single enemy in the room is not immune to Force Insanity, so all it takes is one cast to make them all freeze. With Jolie safely shoved into a corner so he can't intervene, Zalbar, Freyr, and Abner depose Chundar once and for all. As a reward for saving the village, Abner and Zalbar are given the completed spiritual blade to carry on their adventures. Abner also receives yet another level up. This level increases his chances for his force attacks to work. His passive armor class allows him to master his flurry attack and take a new force power in the form of force speed. Abner makes use of this new force power right away as he strips himself naked and runs toward the ship so that he can drive out the rest of the Zerka scum. Turns out the Wookiees had already gotten a head start. Abner throws out a Force Insanity here and there until the outpost is completely liberated. Kashyyyk has been quite the ordeal for our hero. There were ups and downs, good deeds and bad, but at the end of the day, helping to free a civilization of people from an evil intergalactic megacorp is not too shabby for a low-down, nerf-hurting scoundrel like Abner. Speaking of scoundreling, how many more of these star maps did Abner need again? 3 more? We're not even halfway done.